Hello, hello. Welcome to This Won't Last Long, a podcast where I, Michael, and this time, first guest, Logan. I'll not say his last name because that's probably bad, but...
I never run the internet, I don't know.
And today we're going to be, I think, talking about both the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. It's fine. That's and the Five Nights at Freddy's movie and the Marbles. Because we're both nerds and we talk about nerd stuff.
Posters.
Oh, yeah. Posters.
Background.
So,
Find out, definitely.
first, I kind of want to talk about a little bit of us, because not much has gone on with me, really. It's just been university. I think, Logan, you can say that time has passed by pretty quickly.
Yeah, with final assignments, I need to get this drafting assignment done.
Yeah, he's in theater. I'm, as you guys know, in media arts. So yeah, it's been very stressful. I have like minimal assignments, but like large in scale and work, and he has like.
I have a lot of assignments, but they're not as much work. It's like the biggest one that we have so far is drafting a room and then building the room in 3D. But it's just a lot of assignments on top of each other. They're just not horribly time consuming, except for the one.
Yeah, and but I mean, we do keep each other like busy outside of that. I think because we're starting a D&D thing.
Yeah, that'll be in January probably.
Yeah,
But yeah, so that should be fun.
I'm gonna try my best, guys, to like rent it and stuff. Gonna talk with this guy and stuff about it and whatever. But that's like in a while.
Yeah,
He said so.
gotta work things out with our other players.
Yeah. I'm playing a blood cleric by the name of I like to think of like Travis Antlicus, because it's like the death god that my character's like worshiping is Amentus, and it's like there's a lot of death imagery in like movies and TV. Is like not moose, deer and stuff like that. Not like skinwalkers and things. So yeah, and obviously he's DMing, not obviously, but
Yeah, first time ever DMing, so it'll be set in the world of Exandria.
yeah, for critical role.
Can you say that? Yeah, we're not. We won't.
It's not. We're not doing it.
Yeah.
Yet, so.
Yeah, we can say that. Yeah, it'll be set in the world of Critical Role, just because I'm a massive Critical Role fan, and just as my first time DMing, as well as with school, it'll be easier to do a pre-world, a world that I know really well, that I can just set people into and then go over with it. So,
and also for DMing, you're very. I never hear the word, but like pedantic. What does that mean again?
oh, pedantic? That's basically like being obsessed with the tiny details of something, like
I guess particular is another word for it.
yeah, like in the show I'm actually into all the pedantry, but like the big thing of the question about Scott Pilgrim, the statement was that Ramona works for Amazon.com when she actually works for Amazon.ca. That's pedantry right there.
Yeah, that's kind of honestly. I know that in my other episodes that this section has kind of gone on a little bit more. In the future, I'm gonna try to not do that as much.
Huh?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try not to have these like first little banter sections be so long, because I know, I mean, first of all, first guest, so because of that, but also because I tend to ramble a lot anyway, so it's not the best moving forward. So I'm gonna try to rework the podcast. Yeah. So I guess in that nature, so the Marvels we both saw. So I mean, I really liked it, and I know you did.
I really liked it. Well, it wasn't obviously like top tier
No.
Marvel that's ever come, but it's not nowhere near the bottom of things. I really enjoyed it and had a lot of fun with the movie, which like I know movies obviously to be really only, and it was a good movie, but it was just a lot of fun anyways. It was, and especially Iman Vellani, she was excellent as Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the Miss Marvel show, despite like
I did too.
yeah, I never listened to the like reviews of things or just any pre like I guess like precog like the preconceived notions of things. Precog. What am I saying?
Minority report.
I never listened to the preconceived notions of like other people and stuff. Anyway, but I just with Miss Marvel, it was getting all this undeserved hate, especially from like the so-called fans of Marvel who are sexist and stuff.
I do think Miss Marvel could have benefited from a longer season.
Yeah.
I do feel like since they did devote a lot of episodes to just building up like her background, as well as like having an entire episode pretty much dedicated to the villain, it would have benefited from a longer season, similar to like WandaVision or She-Hulk, or like getting into the future with Daredevil Born Again. I think a lot of shows would benefit from the longer seasons because like the 6-episode format, it works with the Loki in that like it's comparing the two. Loki was created as its own self-contained story, so they knew they had 6 or 12 episodes to tell the full story. But with Miss Marvel, they created it for 2 things: A, to introduce the character and build up and try and tell her own story, while also setting up the Marvels. Yeah. So I think it suffered from having a shorter season while also having more to do in setting up an entirely other movie.
And also with Loki, it felt like, you've seen Umbrella Academy as well, it felt like
first 2 seasons, yeah.
Yeah, it felt like, because with Umbrella Academy, they had this thing to do each time, and with Loki, it's pretty much the same.
And Loki turns out to be one of the best things the MCU ever created. Like, yeah, I don't think like, there's not a lot in the MCU I genuinely like dislike. I find a lot of good things in a lot of them. Like, coming as a comics fan primarily, I always think the comics are better. Like many book fans always think the books are better, which is for the most part true. But like, I always try to find the good things in movies, but there's been something that don't like as you know, didn't even finish Secret Invasion. I couldn't finish Secret Invasion.
Well, I finished it. Because me and my sister are very much like, we kind of find the fun in making fun of it and stuff like that. So we kind of, as the show went on, and as the show worsened, as it continued, we did not like it. But it was a good character study of Nick Fury, I found, seeing the whole picture of the show. But like, you don't, and that's where titles come in, and people don't often talk about titles, like, and how important they are, but they are.
Secret Invasion. when you're naming something after one of the biggest events of the past 20 years in comics that had a vast build-up to it, and then it has nothing to do with the comic series whatsoever. Like, the director himself of the show said that, like, it says based on the Marvel comics, yet he himself said he didn't even read Secret Invasion. So, like, how are you going to do it without... It's also a thing the MCU suffers from because they didn't have the rights to all the characters when they started it. There's a lot of events they've had to do that didn't have a lot of the key characters. Like, Civil War had, 14 superheroes fighting against each other? And, like, that was a worldwide thing. And, like, there was a lot of points that were central to the comics that they just couldn't do. Which I don't blame them for doing it like that, because that's how they had to do it because of what they had to work with, and it still turned out to be a really good movie. But like, it just sucks that we'll never get to see like accurate on-screen adaptations of the thing.
Yeah, and that's where I come in as a film leader and someone who really likes movies and stuff, where I and see the like inner workings of what's going on sometimes and stuff. And I didn't read the comics as much as Logan, and I love them. Like obviously as a huge nerd, but I never like I don't have as much knowledge as him to compare it to, and I never like think about it. When I guess I have some things that are way less like some fandoms that I'm in that are much more, I guess, compact. For example, Umbrella Academy. It's a weird case where I saw the show, and then in my high school library, the graphic novels by Gerard Way. I read those, and those were way better. And I started comparing them when I would rewatch stuff or whatever. But like, I don't know. It's just a thing of like some mediums of art just have such divides.
Oh, yeah, I did. Well, I did the same thing with like Game of Thrones. It took me 3 tries to watch the whole show because like I watched the first season like 2 times before I actually continued it because I'd watch the first season, get to the end, and then get completely sidetracked with something else and just would forget what happened. So I had to watch it. But like watching that show and experiencing that was awesome because like in my opinion, it's even if it eventually ended up being bad in the end, it's still like for a long time was one of the best like shows on TV. But going in now as I'm reading the books, and I'm on Feast for Crows right now, the 4th book, the books are just so much better and well written. You can see how the showrunners just were like, nah, fuck this.
I swear.
Can we swear? Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Like because Dumb and Dumber, as we call them, the showrunners, they wanted to decrease the amount of magic in a fantasy show. And I'm like, how are you going to do that? You're going to decrease the amount of magic in a fantasy show. They cut out such key things from the show that make the book so cool. And like, I'm not even going to get into it because that's not what the stream is about. But yeah, it's interesting to see the divide you can have between a medium, whether it's a physical written piece of work, whether comic or book, and the adaptation on screen. Because like even there can be like, if we look at the case of like Big Hero 6 or Days of Future Past, those both are nothing like their source material, but is still really good on its own. So it is a thing of you want to sometimes stay true to, in my opinion with it, you either want to, if you're using the name of something, you either want to completely separate yourself from the comics and do something original, which a lot of the time works out, namely Big Hero 6 is the big one, or you want to try and follow it as accurately as possible, like Lord of the Rings or something like that.
Yeah, and and like with the Marvels, like I'm sure 90% of that stuff wasn't accurate. Like,
oh yeah, like well, like the relation, it's again, it's a thing that they did with like changing characters, because like Monica Rambeau in the comics was Captain Marvel long before Carol was Captain Marvel, and so she wasn't there earlier because Carol was Miss Marvel since 1965, I think, 1964, 1965. But like when Monica was introduced in 1980 or in the 80s as a second Captain Marvel after Marvel died, it was like this was the 80s, and they were taking one of the biggest heroes of the Silver Age of Marvel and turning it into a black woman leading, and who eventually became the leader of the Avengers not long after that. Like, it was a big character like that, but like the Marvels itself isn't really based on anything other than the characters themselves. It's like Monica as Photon and Carol as Captain Marvel and Kamala as Miss Marvel. Like Dar-Ben actually, funnily enough, was fairly accurate to the comics. In like her backstory, like in the comics, it's a man, it's a male Kree, who during Operation Galactic Storm, he and another Kree basically took command of the Kree Empire after the superintelligence was destroyed or something like that. And so it was accurate in that there were soldiers that took over after the superintelligence was destroyed, but there wasn't much about him written. So, oh my god, I just blanked on the director's name. Nia DaCosta.
Yeah.
Nia DaCosta, and the writers could completely reinvent her, which I do think was a good idea, but I also wish they'd gone a bit more in depth with Dar-Ben as a character.
Mhm.
Because I feel like, while I did enjoy Zawe Ashton's performance, I feel like she did maybe fall into some of the pitfalls that a lot of Phase 1 villains had, where they weren't as developed as they could have been and ended up being kind of like a darker reflection of the hero. Like
even Phase 2.
Yeah, Phase 2 is like, if we look at like Malekith or even Aldrich Killian, even though I like Iron Man 3, I didn't used to, but like those villains, they ended up being not as well developed as, say, Thanos or Loki or Wenwu in Shang-Chi. Because like with Dar-Ben, we see in her flashback she was a Star Force soldier she's the inverse of Carol basically in what happened.
As you were talking about like the shows, like I'm glad that they won't suffer as much like with the thing of that there's going to be specific showrunners for each show. I think right?
That yes, that was after the debacle of Secret Invasion. They've kind of been like, hey, yeah, we're gonna actually do this how it should be done.
And of course with the strikes and stuff.
Yeah. He's born again. Oh god. They better have Karen and Foggy and better not kill them off in a stupid way.
Yeah, and it's a thing of like I understand development hell, but I also understand at the same time as development hell, just like caring about a story and not caring so much as like of other like inner workings and behind the scenes kind of stuff. Just kind of I mean I have a bias towards like just caring about the story, but like I don't know why it gets so overlooked sometimes. And that's where the Marvels comes in, because the whole Phase 4 stuff, I'll say, is because everyone went into it, probably, maybe you include, I don't know, but like, the thing of not expecting much.
Well, the thing is that I find with people's reactions to Phase 4 is a lot of the common criticism I've been seeing is that people complaining that, oh, Phase 4 isn't leading to anything, and I'm like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's just subtle, but like they're saying that because of how the first 3 phases work, with pretty much every movie having some connection to the overarching Infinity Saga story, which it was 19 up to Endgame was like 19 movies that were all connected in some way. But the issue is that they're going for, with Phase 4, at least what I'm seeing, is they're going for more of a comic booky approach now to the MCU, in that, hey, we had the Infinity Saga, we created this vast world of a connected story to introduce you to the Marvel world on screen. Because Marvel Comics, of course, has been going since the 30s, pretty much. So there's almost 100 years of content there. It's like, we want to introduce you to this Marvel world on screen, make it a little bit more accessible, but now that they've introduced the world, they're going at it in a way that, hey, you've got this world, let's populate it. Let's populate it with a lot of characters and tell their individual story. But I think that because of the arc format they set up in the first 3 phases, people are accustomed to every single thing being connected and not a thing of, and everything's leading to something in Secret Wars. Whereas it can be something of, we've got one story that's being led up, but on the meantime, in the sides, we have new characters being introduced, new storylines for them introduced, which is like, I'm really glad they introduced the Marvel Spotlight banner that they're doing with Echo and leading into shows with Wonder Man is it gives them with that banner, people will know that like, hey, don't expect this to be connected to a greater story. This is based on this character. This is going to tell just their story, which is why I'm really excited for Echo. Echo looks really good.
Yeah, and like with the Marvels, it's a thing of it continues. By the way, spoiler, like heavy spoilers.
Oh yeah, the after scene will be talked about. We should talk about this. Yeah, that is the thing that we want to talk about is the after scene. So yeah,
because with Beast,
wait. Here we go. We can
Beast.
With this dude right here, we can chill with him.
With Beast and of course Binary. Oh my god,
I don't know Binary. I don't know the Captain Marvel here.
With Beast and
actually, wait. We have Captain Marvel. No, nothing with Binary. Okay, back to this.
With Beast and Binary, it's a thing of it leads into a larger universe in a way of
multiverse.
Yeah, multiverse. In a way of like it doesn't feel, and I understand the multiverse fatigue thing because it is true. Like Across the Spider-Verse did very uniquely in a storytelling way of like that the multiverse is a coping mechanism, and it was a very interesting way to tell that story. And with the Marvels, yeah, sure, call it what it is, but it's not just like a cameo or whatever. It leads into a much larger story, which with a lot of characters that we like, and it's the Marvel and the nerd, like the superhero thing of that we love all these characters coming together and fighting this bigger like evil, and like we get those chills and we like hear the themes, and
hearing the Logan theme was so nice.
Like it's a thing of like I saw that the CGI was better with Beast, and I saw that like the writing was better with this movie, and it's like, and then it coincided with the strikes being over, and it's a very special thing of like not only Marvel's back like with the energy and the whatever, but it's the like film is back in a way because it's I think it's like the like magic of it, I guess I would say, and people actually caring about what they do and stuff like that. So I think I really noticed that with this movie as well.
Mm-hmm. It definitely like, especially now that the actors are of course allowed to talk about stuff. It's really nice to see like Brie and Teyana and Iman and Zawe like talk about how much they enjoyed making the movie, because like you could tell on screen that if there's one thing to say about the movie above all else is that the chemistry of the main three was insanely off the charts. Like I've seen people talk about this as the scene after Aldana, that's the planet the singing planet, Aldana?
I think, yeah.
Something like the singing planet with Park Seo-joon, who I hadn't seen anything of him before this movie, but he was really good. So I made you look at some more Korean movies to just check him out. But like after they did that, and like I've seen people talk about how they went to this like basically a cornfield planet that was entirely used just to have like conversation between the three, but like I know that was a little weird, but the conversation between those three was so important because like throughout the movie we'd seen that Carol and Monica were a little annoyed with Kamala coming on a little strongly as a fan, and there was that tension between Carol and Monica of Carol having not returned and Monica just waiting, but like the chemistry of those three throughout the entire movie leading up to the emotional climax where Monica to Carol and Kamala sacrificed herself to save the universe. Like Carol, of course, you'd expect to be devastated. This is her sister or her like daughter figure. that she helped raise as a young child. But Kamala was devastated as well because she'd seen how powerful and amazing Monica is as a character. So to see that development throughout the movie of, oh, Kamala's just this super fan too. This was her first team. This was what got her into the superhero music. It was really cool to see.
Yeah, and I really like the fact that you didn't need to see. Well, you should have seen WandaVision before, but you didn't need to because it was such a. And it's where my fucking film whatever comes in, but the whole thing of that it wasn't just about like a superhero thing, but it was a relatable thing of this person comes back into your life and you don't like you see them as the same person that you knew, but then and it's especially apparent with like siblings. I relate to it very heavily, but it's the thing of like seeing how far they've grown, and like it's a very relatable thing of seeing that person and seeing how far they've come, and it's and then by proxy that family isn't just blood, and that's I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff as well. So I love that, and then like with Monica and her mom, Maria, who from WandaVision we saw whatever passed away with cancer. I guess you probably can't saw the movie too, but
just a sticky here is it just came to me is that's how Marvel dies in the comic.
Oh,
That was the big thing is the first Marvel graphic novel they released in, I want to say, it was early 1980s or late 1970s, but it was Marvel graphic novel number 1, and it was the death of Captain Marvel. And it was basically, the entire point of it was how tragic the death was, that this is not how superheroes should die. Superheroes should go out saving the world. They should go out fighting these powerful robots, monsters, villains, that thing. But it was cancer that got Marvel. It was basically like, I forget the exact cause, but I think it was something to do in the Kree home world, something where he was saving the planet, and he went to like irradiate something with a lot of radiation, and it caused him to get cancer. And so the entire comic is about him reconciling with that fact and talking with all these other heroes until he does die and they have his funeral, that this is not how heroes should go. I forget the exact line, but I think it's something that Wolverine says about it. But yeah, it's like, this is not how heroes should go. Has a great, like, the Marvel graphic novels from the 20th century are great. God Loves, Man Kills, New Mutants, that stuff. But like that, it just connected that could maybe mean an adaptation of that, saying how Maria in pretty much every other universe we've seen is a superhero, and in this universe is a superhero to both Carol and Monica, and yet it is cancer that she beat once, but it came back again, and that's what finally did her in, which is kind of a sad parallel.
Yeah, and it's such an amazing thing because I think it's such a good in real life connection because of the fact that, like, if the multiverse is whatever, like real or whatever, like here in real life, but you can say whatever you want about that, but the real thing is like people who eat that stuff, people who die that way. I mean, my nan, so like my dad's grandma had cancer. Like, I have cancer in my family. So
my nana just died this year from cancer. So
yeah, so it's a very real thing to us, and I never knew mine. Like, I guess you did.
Oh yeah.
But it's a thing of like that is really a like heroic thing, and it's a very real thing of like you don't have to be fighting robots or whatever, to be superhero to people. It's like a thing of just that inspiration and like the daughter and her daughter and her sister. So Monica and Carol, seeing her like just smile and pass, knowing that like her strength was instilled in her sister and her daughter. It was a very powerful thing, and then to go back on that parallel stuff that Logan was talking about, it's like she says that to Carol, and that's like early on in the movie, I think midway, whatever.
Midway, yeah.
And then like towards the end, it's a really, when you know it's a good movie, it's when the meaning of that parallel doesn't need to actually be said with words. It's because when Monica is like hovering above, like as Photon, and higher, further, faster doesn't need to be said. And we know that's because Maria is saying it in Monica's head, and it's a very powerful moment. That's probably my favorite moment in the movie. And yeah, that was very good writing.
Oh, that wasn't bad.
Flurkins.
Probably.
That's the funniest shit.
That was an extremely powerful and amazing scene in the movie, which was amazingly done. But the funniest scene, in my opinion, is the fucking baby Flurkins with Memory from Cats playing. When that scene came on, I saw the movie with my parents, and I was sitting in between them, my mom on my left, my dad on my right. I looked at my mom, we were both howling with laughter. My dad had the most what the fuck expression on his face, but it was the funniest thing ever because it's just something you wouldn't expect. Like, I mean, I could see it coming, I saw it coming and told my mom, I was like, the Flurkins are gonna swallow them. But, like, I was not expecting Memory to play, but it's such a perfect song. But it's also hilarious because Memory in Cats is such an emotional song, in that it's Grisabella singing about how she doesn't think, like, she's ever going to be chosen to go to the I can't remember words. Heaviside Layer, I think? Is singing about how she's been around so long she doesn't think she's going to get there. But then to take that emotional song and polarize it with baby Flurkins swallowing the Saber members was so funny and so good that, like, yeah. And I would love to imagine what the Saber workers were thinking. Oh, we're going to get swallowed.
Yeah, and it was actually very cool to see like the different cultures in Saber 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like to see it was
Guardian.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy to see like how far this universe has come, like in 15 years, and we're 18 now, and it's been for a while. But
I saw Iron Man in theaters when I was 3. I don't remember it. But I saw that movie. The only MCU movie I haven't seen in theaters is The Incredibles. But yeah, I saw Iron Man when I was 3, so I've literally grown up with these movies since the very first one.
For me, it's different because me and my whole family saw the first Avengers when it came out that summer in our local theater.
May 4th, 2012.
Yeah, and then 7 years later, family stuff, whatever happened, it was just me and my sister seeing Endgame, and it was like 7 years later. It was a very powerful thing, and like then ever since 2012, I've never, like, no matter how mid or whatever a movie is, Toronto stuff. Anyway, no matter how mid or whatever someone says a movie is, I still never like. The magic never loses me with the intro, and I never like me and my sister are still like, oh, we're seeing a Marvel movie, and like there's still that excitement there, and it never falters.
Yeah, that's the thing. Same with me and like my dad and my mom is that I mainly go to see them with my dad. That's the thing is between us. he's the one who got me into all this. But like, my mom is also a really big fan of these, so whenever she can come see them, like I saw Civil War with her actually first, and saw Captain Marvel for her birthday. I got us tickets to go see that for her birthday back in 2019. But like, so we're all like this. Like, it was named after a superhero, so
Wolverine.
yeah, it was named after Wolverine. And even though my mom and dad have differing opinions, my dad says that my middle name comes from Cable, but my mom just says she likes the name. So we'll see. We'll debate this. But yeah, and like, no matter what the project is, my dad and I always have the same opinion that like, no matter the reviews, we'll go into it with a fairly open mind to see what it's like. Like, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and Love and Thunder, comparing that, those both got fairly negative, or not fairly negative, but like, they didn't get the best reviews when they first came out, so when we went to see them, I still went in with open mind. Didn't end up liking the movie all that much, but like, it doesn't take away from future movies. Like, I'm just as excited for watching Echo and especially Deadpool 3 and like all this stuff next year. What is next year? Is it Agatha next year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Echo, Agatha, freshman year,
What if?
Deadpool 3. Well, what if it's this year?
Yeah.
But like, I'm still excited. I'm as excited for all those projects then as I was for like Endgame. Maybe not at the same level because of the stakes of Endgame, but like, it's, no matter the movie, I personally haven't ever felt Marvel fatigue just because it's surrounded me my whole life. As a comics reader, it's always been a part of my life. So I'm always excited to see the new thing. And I'm always excited to see where they can go. And it's a thing as well is picking up on little tiny details that they plant in the movies that the discerning fan might not pick up on. My big thing was in the Marvels is the bangles that Kamala Khan and Dar-Ben have in the movie are revealed to be the quantum bands, which in the comics, the quantum bands are the key item that the superhero Quasar uses. And Quasar is one of my dad and my like favorite characters. He's really cool, they are really cool depending on which version of the character it is, which technically Quasar's already appeared in the MCU in Guardians 3, I don't know. But it's really interesting to see the things like that. I don't know if they'll go the same way. It would be cool to see Quasar come in with the quantum bands, as we saw that Kamala doesn't need the bangle to use her powers. It just awoke them. So hopefully we can see that. But yeah, like
the mutant gene.
Yeah, the bangles awoke the mutant gene, which I'm not going to get into that. How my feelings on that, but yeah, like I've never not really been excited for any new Marvel thing because it's like it's cool to see these superheroes that come from the artwork on pages created by Stan and Jack and Steve and everyone else that worked on, to see them come to life on screen, and it's been a long time coming, is why Fantastic Four has so much behind it, especially with, hopefully, Pedro can do the movie, because I think he'd be a great Mr. Fantastic.
Yes.
Which, yeah, if people didn't know who could possibly be watching this, is that Pedro Pascal is being tapped to play Mr. Fantastic. If his schedules for Gladiator 2 and Last of Us Season 2 allow him. So, hopefully, but yeah, like Fantastic Four is Marvel's first family. And we haven't really had an amazing movie from them ever.
But we had amazing, like, the first
Fantastic Four was good.
The first 45 minutes, I would say, the 2015 one felt very Fantastic Four.
It did.
And then
yeah, like, well, that's the thing is, I still believe, like, the Fantastic Four cast from 2015 could have been a really good casting. Like, Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm, Human Torch, was really good casting. But it's just that it suffered from bad writing, so much studio interference that it just ended up being shit. And like, I go back and watch the 2005 and 2007 Fantastic Four movies, and I still have a lot of fun with those, and they're really good to watch.
They're really campy, but they're really good.
Yeah, they're really campy. But I'm really excited to see, and I just hope that Doctor Doom is not the goddamn villain. Because I love Doom, but we need more Fantastic Four villains.
It's like the thing of Batman and Joker.
Mm-hmm. X-Men and Magneto.
Yeah.
Even though Magneto's literally like...
I guess Spider-Man Grey Goblin.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like, that was a big thing with Amazing Spider-Man 2. with what happened is that they had Electro as the main villain, and then it was like, oh, we're doing Green Goblin again, and not even that. We're doing the night when Stacy died, and it's like I could have seen that being the finale to the trilogy.
Yeah.
Like if they got a third movie for Amazing Spider-Man, I think it would have been better to do Night When Stacy Died in the third one.
And see a post-credit scene of like MJ or something.
Well, yeah, like Shailene Woodley
Mhm.
was cast as MJ in Amazing Spider-Man 2, but she had all her scenes cut. Like it would have been interesting to have like Electro villains. We have Lizard in the first movie, Electro in the second, and in the third one, say we have Green Goblin, but we also have because Sinister Six was supposed to be a separate movie.
Yeah, it would have been Venom as well, maybe.
Well, yeah, it was basically the plan was to be there's going to be Amazing Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 3, a Sinister Six movie, and there was going to be a Venom. Venom was going to get introduced as well.
They were basically gonna do the Venomverse, but with Andrew, and then the whole thing got kind of scrapped.
Well, yeah, it was, and there's been I don't know how true they are, but there was like leaked emails about possible castings about the Webverse, which Tom Hardy apparently was supposed to play Sandman, which in a leaked email. I don't know how real it is, but yeah, and Alan Tudyk was supposed to play Carpenter, which would be great. But yeah, they were basically going to do the Sonyverse, but actually with Spider-Man.
Yeah, which they, I don't know. I feel like they've lost a lot of fans at this point, but I feel like they could still.
I'm here for Venom 3. I'm here for Venom 3.
They possibly still could put a little spider in there, and I'd be really happy
to make Madam Web the main spider.
Really?
Well, they could.
Oh.
How did we get here to this conversation?
I don't even.
We talked. This section was started by Flurkins.
Yeah. But I really like
the Marvels is what we're talking.
Yeah. I mean the humor was done really well in it, and I like Thor: Love and Thunder, like Logan was talking about. I didn't love the movie. Nobody really did, but I did enjoy the humor going into it, like that first night, like theater experience, and it was funny and lighthearted, and yeah, and then obviously as time went on, after I saw that it wasn't what the story was supposed to be,
there was too much. They went overboard.
I mean, it's literally gore.
Yeah, when you're tackling both gore and the Jane Foster cancer story, you can have the lighthearted comedy because you always need that to balance out the drama, but we literally see Gore the God Butcher kill one god on screen and one off screen. And like there's like no emotional weight really to Jane. Like it's obviously there as a part of her character, and Val is pretty much the only person that knows. Like Thor doesn't know. But there's not a lot of emotional weight to it. It's emotional, of course, when she dies and goes to Valhalla. But like, I feel like it would have been built up more if there was less comedy and more drama and attention to that. Because that was the thing I was most excited for when they announced that Jane Foster would be back, would be them tackling the cancer story because of how impactful it was. And it just felt like it didn't end up being as good as it could have been.
Yeah, like maybe they could have had a reverse of like Thor dying and like Jane being the main one and that being the emotion, and then her dealing with the fact that she'll die soon, and that would be the whole thing.
Like I think they're also gonna. I think they might bring her back as Valkyrie, like as one of the Valkyries. Like she's in the comics right now, but I don't know.
But with the Marvels, the humor really allowed itself to like for example, a great thing was Miss Marvel seeing her do the comic thing of using her scarf.
Yeah, that was cool.
Because and then like on top of that, seeing these like fucking musical like soldiers just murder the Darben's like men and stuff.
Which honestly, one of the most underrated jokes in my opinion of the movie is is Carol saying that her husband was bilingual, in that he could just speak normally. I think that was really well
Very
done.
funny.
I honestly, I just wish there was a bigger musical number. That's just the theater kid.
That's
in
just
me.
you. But yeah, I really liked the movie, and I think it has the Marvel magic in a sense, because I keep saying that, but I think the Marvel magic really means like just having a fun time, but also just really leading into why the characters exist in the first place, which goes back on Spider-Man, I think, really. I mean, maybe like there's like the first character when it applies to, but the thing of protecting those who can't protect themselves.
I'd say, yeah, like Fantastic Four was the first like modern Marvel thing that they were mainly about.
Alice.
Well, modern Marvel, but like Atlas Comics and Timely Comics was different because that was a different era of like storytelling. But with Fantastic Four, they were mainly based on like space exploration and defeating their villains for the purposes of the greater good of the world as well as science. But Spider-Man in 1962 was like the first one to be like, hey, we're gonna have an ordinary guy, a teenager, which a leading teenage superhero was unheard of when Stan and Steve created him. That like, but have him just be this ordinary kid from Queens who wants to just be friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It's like that.
Yeah, and with Kamala, like people hate the Avengers game, I do too, but like the main campaign really accentuated her, like really highlighted the meaning of her character in the sense of she didn't want these powers, she didn't want the Terrigenesis to hit her, or I guess the X stuff to hit her, the X gene to whatever, but like, and she used the powers anyway, and she used them for good in a world, and I guess in her world, a world of corruption and just really shitty government people, and she uses it despite that, and in spite of, like, one of my favorite panels of all time is when she first gets the powers and she first does the Indian thing, and then she says that, like, something along the lines of, like, she was chosen for this, like, this is why I'm doing this, something like that. And with Captain Marvel, I'm sure it's the same in the comics of, like, they have this immense, like, power, and they have to protect those weaker.
Yeah.
And then
they're
with Monica as well.
All of the Captain Marvels, for the most part, are, like, super powerful.
Yeah. And, yeah, it was a really, like, cool thing. I mean, I don't think there's anything else that really happened.
So speaking of the X gene, we should delve a little bit more into that after stage.
Sure, yeah.
That's my point. Well, as someone whose favorite corner of Marvel is the X-Men,
avid X-Men fan.
An avid X-Men fan. That was fucking amazing. Especially because it's Kelsey Grammer coming back as Beast, who Kelsey Grammer as Beast is one of the greatest comic book castings of all time. It's also a great thing always when the person cast as the character is a fan first. Like Iman, she literally dressed up as Kamala Khan back in like 2018 for Halloween, and Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Henry Cavill maybe? Henry Cavill maybe? Or
Henry Cavill as Superman, yeah. Charlie Cox as Daredevil. All this stuff. But specifically the big thing is Kelsey Grammer as Beast. Kelsey Grammer, before X-Men Last Stand 2006, he was already a super famous actor. Especially like Cheers and Frasier and Simpsons. He was really popular. But Beast was the first role in 20 years he would audition for. Because for the past 20 years, he would just be given roles and he'd accept or deny them. But Beast was the first role in 20 years at that point that he actually went and auditioned for because he wanted to play the character so much. is how much he loved it, and you can tell that in his performance in Last Stand. He is, in my opinion, probably the highlight of the movie, with the exception of like Wolverine, who he's always amazing, and Storm, he's really good, but like Beast is amazing in that movie, and seeing him come back, my dad and I loved it so much because the X-Men movies are like we're both big Marvel fans in general, and my dad loves Spider-Man most of all, but the X-Men have always been a big thing for us, and that's the thing we really love, is collecting the X-Men and reading the X-Men, watching the shows, watching the movies, all that stuff. And so seeing this character return that both of us love. Also, a big thing is that Kelsey Grammer's Beast was one of the last times we saw a genuinely happy, good Beast who wanted the greater good, whereas Beast in the comics right now is a straight up villain. So it was nice to see that return to the Beast of the 90s that was in the animated shows. It was really nice to see that. And also just, they were in the X basement. The X-Men door was right there. The Ottman theme. He mentioned Charles, like, and hopefully the fact that Binary's there means that the Starjammers are in that universe, which would be fucking sick.
Yeah, because like it's one thing to see Beast, but like to mention the team be in the headquarters, like to set that up and to like to jump off of like his dad really loves Spider, like that's me too. Like I love Spider-Man most of all, and I like ever since my dad would literally play the Toby movies when I was like a toddler, and I would remember them like on the TV and stuff, and like I saw that amazing movies like in theaters. But anyway, like seeing with great power comes great responsibility. Cause obviously Spider-Man, part of being a Spider-Man fan and loving it most of all is like it sticks with you, and that notion of like with great power comes great responsibility, and I see it in most other characters I see, and like just that he helps her, like Beast is like wanting to help her, and it's like it's such a wholesome thing of like superheroes from just the Marvel universe of like they just want to help each other and they just want to help people, and it was like it was such a cool thing to see that return to form, and in my opinion I think is the alternate future thing that happened at the end of Days of Future Past.
Which would be really cool because we pretty much know that they're gonna die in Deadpool 3, but it'd be, that's another thing, is this connecting to Secret Wars and like Deadpool 3, in that if the rumors are to be believed about Deadpool 3,
they're gonna die.
Deadpool 3 will be Deadpool kills the Fox Marvel Universe. I mean, we obviously know Hugh Jackman's back as Wolverine, and all of the Deadpool supporting cast with the exception of Weasel. We know Jennifer Garner will be back as Elektra, who she hasn't played in 18 years.
Which is
crazy. That movie's terrible. But also there's rumors that James Marsden, Halle Berry, and Famke Janssen will be in it as Cyclops, Storm, and Jean Grey, which probably means they get killed. But it'll be sad to see those characters die, because like the early X-Men movies, that was a big thing that I grew up with, was watching those, and that was my first introduction to the world of the X-Men. And yeah, I do want to see like fresh faces play the characters in the MCU, but it'll be sad to see those characters like fully die, because like the last we saw of them was a happy ending at the end of Days of Future Past, and then we don't know what future Logan takes place in, and then different timeline as well for the Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix and New Mutants. But like the ending of Days of Future Past, we see everyone happy. We see Beast as a teacher. We see Storm and Jean Grey and Cyclops are together. Neither of them are dead. Kitty Pryde still has her powers, or not Kitty Pryde, Rogue still has her powers. Kitty Pryde and Iceman are there, and it's which again, Iceman's not gay, so it's but still, it'll be sad to see them killed off.
Yeah,
probably. But it's
maybe a couple of them will stay. I don't know.
I mean, Kelsey Grammer's Beast could stick around, hopefully.
I feel like not all of them will die.
Well, that's another problem. The thing with like casting characters for the MCU is the idea of age. Like in the comics, it's ink on paper. These characters, you can do as many stories as you want for them for however long you want to do it with them. You just say it takes place in a certain time, and they're always there. Like T'Challa is on the Avengers right now. He's always going to be there. Whereas in the MCU, they killed him off, which I still think they should recast him, but it's their decision. They went with it. But like that's the thing of like they retired Iron Man, Black Widow, Captain America, maybe Hawkeye, and like Hulk and Thor are the only two original Avengers that are pretty much still active. And like with Chris Hemsworth taking a break from acting for a bit, there's also things like Tom Holland. Spider-Man started in the MCU at 16 years old in Civil War, and in the timeline he should be maybe 20 right now, but Tom Holland soon enough will be 30, and it's like a thing of these characters don't age with the actors that play them, which is why like casting someone like Kelsey Grammer, who is in his 60s right now as Beast, to be in a long run for the MCU, he won't be able to do Beast forever. They'll have to recast. So that's another thing is like, I think my friend brought up is Pedro Pascal getting cast as Mr. Fantastic. Pedro Pascal's almost 50. And so having him play Reed, who will almost most definitely become a central fixture for the MCU, especially with Secret Wars. Well, especially with Secret Wars coming up and how that's such a central Reed story. It's a thing of like these characters don't age with the actors, so you either have to eventually recast them or you have to get rid of them, which is it's always sad to see because eventually the movies will run out of characters, but the comics won't.
Yeah, and it's yeah. I mean, is there anything? Because like, I guess I don't know. Because is there anything else from
Marvels? I just want to say that Kamala's family was really good in the movie too. They were really good.
They were really fun. And I liked because that was such a good thing in Miss Marvel. Seeing that central story, the central family story, and our family has like it's been a mix of chosen and birth for me, like birth family and chosen family for me, and personally growing up, and like it's a thing of how much that meant to me, seeing the struggle, but also seeing that they like connect back to each other in the end, and it was a really cool thing to see that in the show. But then it was really interesting to see how that continued in the Marvels. So yeah.
It was that quote I just told you from Critical Role. Not all family is blood, much family is chosen.
Yes.
Yeah, that I quote from Critical Role, which has a lot to mean. Yeah.
I think it's pretty much
That's everything for the Marvels.
Yeah. So
review, I would give it 7 out of 10 Flurkin babies.
yeah, I would agree. Like a little bit more, like 7.5-ish for me. But yeah. Ink on paper. Moving on. Not much for him experience-wise, but for me, Five Nights at Freddy's meant so fucking much to me. Like seeing these game characters like come from an indie developer growing this fucking franchise of game after game, and now finally after years of development how the movie comes, and it's just like Logan was saying, Matthew Lillard is what, like in his 60s now probably,
No, he's not that old.
Almost. Like, he's 50s,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, Matthew Lillard, as obviously spoilers.
He's 53.
Okay, that's not that bad. But yeah, Matthew Lillard as William Afton, and later Springtrap. Yeah, that was very good. But FNAF fans would know that it happens instantaneous. Springlock failure, like it literally bursts your head, and then the fake eyes go to your real eyes, and then it like your neck, and then obviously you start to cry, and then it goes to your. It's a whole thing, but yeah, it's. I mean, from like a non-avid fan like me, what would you kind of like think about it?
Going into it as someone who knew very minimal stuff. Like, I'd played the first 3 games back in like middle school when that was the big thing. Is like, oh, check out these cool new games, and I'd watched like Markiplier play like the Five Nights at Freddy's World games, and I knew a little bit about the lore. Like, I knew the general stuff of William Afton as the purple guy and like sticking the children in the suits. I knew the general like lore of that, the background behind that. But going into it as someone who practically had no fan connection to it, really, I just went to it because I thought it would be a cool movie to go with, and it ended up being really fun. I thought it was a good movie. Like, obviously, I wasn't expecting a lot. Like, I knew what I was going in for. I knew the general plot of the game, so I knew what to kind of expect. But still, going into it, it was fun. There were laughs. I personally didn't really get jump scared all that much, just because I think, again, with the movie, it was supposed to be like a horror movie, but still, it's Five Nights at Freddy's, so it's kind of perceived as kind of a kid's game. So I think they didn't want to make it as scary as it could have been. But I definitely do think that it was. People complain about it not being accurate to the lore. But when you look at the credits, Scott Cawthon was literally a writer on the movie. He had his, like Neil Gaiman in pretty much all his projects, had his hands inside it. So he controlled the decision. I'm like, you're arguing with the creator of the entire universe. Like, and he stated it's not meant to be in the same continuity as the games or the books, which is separate continuity, right? Yeah. And like, I thought it was a well-made movie that seemed to honor the games in a very good light. Obviously, it made a fuck ton of money. So I quite enjoyed it as someone who really had no connection to it whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's a thing of, yeah, I mean, they couldn't, some, like, not, I want to say fake fans, I hate using that word, but some, lack of a better word, fake fans thought it would be like VHS tapes, which are actually horrifying, and it's like, you've seen them, right? Like, some of them? No? I think I'm showing you, like, edits and stuff. Anyway, they did VHS tapes, which show, like, the inner, like, mental torture of William and, like, the children, which wasn't gonna be this movie at all, because the thing with, adapting this to a movie, which I talk about this stuff a lot in my writing for games class, but, like, I like filmmaking versus gaming, and it's a thing of, with gaming, you want the player to be, like, scared at every which way you turn, in the nature of the game, and just, like, how it runs. With the movie, it's, with movies in general, it's a thing of, like, emotion, and following the emotion all the way through, and with this, it was Mike Schmidt, who in the games is, of course, Michael Afton, so we were already following the emotion of that because we wanted him to find out from the jump that Steve Raglan is William Afton. With now that I'm saying that out loud, it's very much obvious. But and of course Scott Cawthon, the cheeky bastard, put Raglan as spelling, like if you mix and match Steve and Raglan is spelled with an I, which if you put an A instead of the I there at the end, it spells a never ending, which of course, as we know in the games, William never dies, because he always comes back, and yeah, which hearing that didn't feel like a cheap, like, cop out for a line, because, like, yeah, it's his most iconic line, and he saw me fucking giddy as hell. Like, I lost my mind.
My favorite thing was looking over at you and Matt showed up.
Oh, and some people didn't know it was him when he started talking, and I'm like, how do you not? It's literally...
But hey, that's just the theory.
His most iconic, like, his iconic voice. And,
some people say breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Yeah, and I saw an edit of, like, Food Theory, which is very funny, but... Yes.
Shout out our man Doug, who just wanted some appetizers. Dude just was there to get appetizers.
Which, I have no idea who Doug is supposed to be based on.
He's not based on anyone, he's just a dude.
Really?
Yeah, he's just a dude!
That's fucking hilarious. Yeah, Doug. And, like, it was a cool thing of, like, I think, I don't know, I would love to just talk to Scott about this one day, but, like, if that was supposed to be a dig at people thinking that was, like, fucking Henry or some shit, just, this is your Henry, the, like, clueless lawyer guy.
Well, we were talking about this a bit ago after the movie came out, is the theory that Mike Schmidt isn't that Mike Schmidt is Henry's son with, like,
I believe.
Yeah, it makes sense, or at least, yeah, like, they swapped
the families
in that, well, after we got back from Five Nights at Freddy's, he showed me the fucking hour and 20-minute long Matt Pat lore video.
Ultimate timeline.
Yeah. It's like, of course, Afton usually has the 3 children of Henry, Elizabeth, and
his brother. Like the
I know.
child.
Yeah. Did it start with W?
No,
that's William.
I think just Gregory is called.
Yeah, we'll call him whatever his name is. And then Henry, of course, has Charlotte. Is that her name?
He has 2 daughters, I think.
But yeah, well, they reverse it for the movie, if the theory is to be believed, where Mike has a sister and had a brother, and there's just Vanessa, who's William's daughter. Vanessa?
Yeah.
I'm a material.
Yeah, I mean, I really like how they did that because it adds, I think it fixes the original lore, actually, because with Vanessa being William's daughter, it like dilutes the, not dilutes, but I guess changes the thing of insecurity breach with Vanessa being this random ass, like, 20-something who I think, according to Matt Pat's home at timeline, like, Clara Afton brainwashed William's robot wife.
And I'm the 3rd son. Just the crying child.
Yeah. Who is supposed to be Gregory, apparently, in Security Breach.
Yeah, that was the wild theory that there's fucking that Clara Afton robot family, and they got the possessed, or they've got the animatronic in Michael. They've got the still William in what form is he? Like a cybernetic virus?
Yeah, from Help Wanted.
Yeah, you've got this, like, is it the spirit of Elizabeth possessing Vanessa?
I think.
And then it's like the robot of Gregory.
Who was supposed to be the Crying. which I don't know. But I'm glad they did that in. They didn't do that in like the movie, which also in the games takes a while, so they wouldn't have. Anyway, but yeah, with the family in the movie, it was a very interesting thing of seeing how William like had manipulation through just one person and how strong that was. Where in the games, his manipulation is like spread out, and I think they fixed that in the movie where it's like it can spread out through person to person, and I think that is done very well. And it's I think like a good villain thing, a good villain trope that villains have in movies compared to like other mediums. Where like manipulation is spread from person to person. Kingpin.
Yeah. I think I gotta say, like, talking about the movie just as someone who like no like fan service moments for me, because like there really wasn't any for me per se. But like just some of my favorite moments I found was when the animatronics were building the fort with Vanessa, Mike, and Abby, right? Because like knowing that these animatronics are kids, it was very bittersweet to see that scene. In that it's like, oh, these are animatronics who could murder all three of these people so easily in a second. But what they really are, these are children. These are 4 kids, because Golden Freddy wasn't there. These are 4 kids who found this girl who, even if at the time their motives for wanting to hang out with her were sinister in nature because of what William had them believe with the picture on the wall, they just wanted a friend. It just being the 4 of them or 5 of them, if Golden Freddy ever shows up. Or what's his deal? Where does he chill?
He basically, in the games, he has no endoskeleton.
Oh, so he can't really move around. Oh, that's why he's like slumped in the back, right?
Yeah, and I think the only reason that could happen in the movie, because I was a little like confused about that, is because like the soul was just, his anger was really strong in the movie.
Yeah, that's the thing I found is like, before he goes to Mike and Abby's house, do we see Golden Freddy in the movie? I can't remember. Do we see his like suit in the back?
I think we do, because I think it's a great shot.
Okay, yeah. And like, it was just back then. It was just bittersweet to see these animatronics who they are just animatronics of a bear, a rabbit, a chicken, and a fox. But in watching it, you can see that they're kids. They just want to play and have a great time. And I thought that was a really well done moment, because it takes you out of the fact that we just watched these creatures murder a bunch of, like, this is after the theft, right? Hi, Gracie. But yeah, it was interesting to see, like, after all these people have been murdered, to see the animatronics just have a fun time. And it was really nice to be reminded of like what was taken from these children by William.
And fans complain about that scene, but I'm like, it shows the innocent nature of like what you're seeing.
In my opinion, that's one of the most important scenes in the entire movie, is because it reminds you that these are just kids who were murdered by psychopaths.
Who, in the games, I'm sure they'll explore it in the other movies, but who in the games is not just a psychopath, but just a really fucking broken man.
Yeah. And
like, the guy got his son murdered by an arrogant older like son, and got like like got his ideas stolen by Henry, like just got the like shit kicked out of him mentally and emotionally.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing that they may explore in the movies, which would be very interesting to see just put on screen. But just coming at it from
Let's go.
Hey. Just coming at it from like a perspective watching the movie, it seemed like they were going more of a route of this dude is just evil. He's like, it's posed in the. I'm sure what they could reveal in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is like that Vanessa wasn't his only child, that there was something that happened that caused this. But like, I think that would be a good thing to do is like you set up in the first movie. It's similar to what they did with Loki, but just not as redemption-y and more like you introduce this villain. Well, not even Loki because he was a tragic villain from the start, but like, let's say Thanos. Say Thanos in Guardians compared to Thanos in Infinity War. If you look at William Afton like that, when Thanos is first introduced in Guardians of the Galaxy, he's supposed to just the Mad Titan. He's a dude who likes killing.
This guy at the top of his power.
Yeah, like that. He's a guy who just likes killing, likes doing what he does, and rules with an iron fist over shit. But by the time in Infinity War, we find out what his entire purpose has been, which he wants there to be balance in life so that nobody has to go hungry, nobody has to die for an unnecessary reason. And I think that something like that with William Afton would be good in that introduced in the first movie as a liar, a manipulator, a murderer, something like that. But then as we develops, we see
that may be a bot. Just ignore them.
Okay. Is we see in the later movies, we see why he got to that point. Not necessarily have a redemption arc for him, but just have a explanation as to the background that kind of subverts the general audience's expectations after the first one.
Yeah, because like at the top of the movie and at the top of the games, he is just this evil dude, like just murdering children, and then after he becomes Springtrap, and after you see all in the mini games, I guess that's how they do it in the games, the lore and stuff. In the mini games, you see all this stuff that happened to him, and it's like, and then you start to feel for him and like wish he wasn't this angry, and because he can't let that go because all he is this super angry soul over everything that happened that he can't change. And he did murder children and all that, and that is unredeemable. And he isn't a redeemable character. You just start to wish he was out of that suit.
It's kind of like David Tennant's performance in Jessica Jones. Mm-hmm. This is a dude who is morally reprehensible in every single thing he does. Kilgrave is the worst person to ever be created in Marvel. But in the one scene near the end of the season where he's talking about his backstory with his parents, David Tennant's brilliant performance makes you almost feel bad for him. And yet, you think it is like, no, this is the dude who physically, sexually, verbally abused Jessica Jones for like a year. And she had no idea it was going on. And yet he managed to make you feel bad for him.
Yeah, it's like with William, this is the guy who murdered child after child, one of which, circus baby Henry's daughter, Elizabeth, more brutally than any other kid, because he wanted to make it hurt. He wanted to make Henry hurt, and Henry's the guy who stole William's ideas, who would creatively backfire against William, like just time after time, and and like he sat back and was like, I just killed somebody's daughter, and he just couldn't. And he got a taste of that, and he couldn't like let go of that hurt that he inflicted on another, and he just kept hurting Henry, and by proxy, by these other kids, and by tanking the business. And it was it's such a satisfying like villain thing to see that same man like burn in his own creation in the same building that he wanted to bring down, and to see that they're doing the same thing in the movie was a very cool thing to see that how he went out, how he's still angry, and how is Golden Freddy the same, which is different in the games. It's like,
isn't Golden Freddy a girl in the
yeah,
games? Yeah,
it's Charlotte.
Yeah, well, it's like almost the way you like described William there. It's like, Dakota, you became the very thing you swore to destroy. The Star Wars quote. He sought out to basically get revenge on Henry because correct me if I'm wrong. He partially blamed Henry's suit design for the death of his son, right? Yes. And so it's like he almost became the thing he swore to destroy. He hated Henry for the malfunction of the suit that caused his son to die. But in doing so, he went and killed another man's child and caused that same pain he didn't want to happen to him on another person, which even if it was indirectly Henry's fault that it happened, no one should have to go through that as well as what William went through.
Yeah, and it's a good thing of, I consider 1 to 6 the canon thing, so I like ignoring security breach and stuff like that, but the Henry speech at the end of FNAF 6, which I hope, I don't care how long they cram, like, I don't care how many movies they have to cram stuff into.
You want
I need that ending.
The depths of hell.
I need that ending. And it's the thing of, like, that needs to happen because it's him actually burning in his own creation and his own, like, torment, and Henry finally burning with him, but not in his own torment, in his own freedom, with his death, and him killing himself in that same restaurant, and him also killing Michael, because Michael is just a walking like reminder of like what like had to happen and stuff. And he's a walking corpse, and he can't. All he has is pain, just like his father, and he can't let go of that either. And then I was saying that all that burns down the same building, and yeah, it's I really hope, because Henry is like, he is my father. It's the same guy in the TV, like, who looks just like the guy in the flashback.
It's all but confirmed. It's all but said in words at this point by the creator. Like, it would be honestly, if they didn't do that, it would be a vast like betrayal to me, because it would be the perfect thing that either if they didn't go with that Mike as Henry's son, they do something of, they have to introduce Henry in a completely separate way and make it a good rate. But like, it makes perfect sense that he would be, because like, why would William target that family and kidnap?
Why would he be confused about Schmidt?
Yes. Why would he kidnap the one child of this random family? And when seeing the name Schmidt, I mean, you don't have to have Henry's last name be Emily, have it be Henry Schmidt or something, or just have like
an alias.
He changed his name to Schmidt to escape from William, but William found that out. It's like, how do you explain William's reaction to the last name Schmidt? outside of, oh, I realize this is the brother of the kid I kidnapped. But even then, like, you wouldn't have that same reaction of not only that, but also his reaction of going over to the coffee cup, to the coffee station to like hide his reaction from it.
Yeah, and it was a very good thing of seeing that name gave him so much anger, because after he was the phone guy, which was unfortunate for me because I really liked the phone guy.
R.I.P.
Yeah, rest in peace. Because that's actually supposed to be Scott. It would have been a cool cameo actually to see Scott Cawthon. But
Speaking of cameos, Markiplier.
yeah, he was supposed to be the security guard in the beginning, which
Would that have been like the security guard from FNAF 2? Is that what they were supposed to be a reference to?
Maybe. But yeah, I don't
Jeremy?
I wouldn't have liked that because I wouldn't have wanted to see my boy die. But in FNAF 2, I would really like to see him be either the phone guy or like a security guard, the security guard.
Just have him be another waiter at Sparky's and just build up the YouTube crew at Sparky's. Well, I mean, like
Sparky's.
the employees of the month thing was all like YouTubers, right?
And then they left before they could die.
Yeah.
And went to Sparky's. That's, oh my god. But yeah,
New headcanon. That's where all the
that's where all they went.
go.
But yeah, with what was I? Yeah, with the phone guy, and then he sits there and just like patiently waits for, and he expects Mike to die that first night, and then he doesn't.
To be real honest with you, Mike, your options are severely limited. I just like how he says that line.
Yeah. And he's playful before that, but then after he knows that he's Henry's kid, he's Henry's son, he has this serious like anger to him and like force of like, I need him to be gone. Because I guess he already thinks that Henry's dead or something. Anyway.
It just adds to the portrayal of William as a psychopath is how playful and kind of helpful and happy he is as Steve at the beginning of the movie. Like, he's joking around with, what's the pay? Not great, but the hours are worse. Like, it adds to that level of, this is a psychopathic serial killer who at this point has murdered at least 6 children, the 5 animatronics, and then Mike's brother. He's murdered at least 6 children, and who knows how many other people, and by proxy so many other people from the animatronics. Like, we see Mike's best friend literally the bite of 2000.
Yeah, and it was a very cool thing of just also, you're just kind of a sentimental guy, guys. And like, it was such a good portrayal there of just, and then later seeing him in the spring bunny suit, having that freedom and just hearing the become like the fucking psychotic laugh that he has. And it's
shout out to the practical animatronic suit.
Yeah, and I don't know if Spring Bunny was, but that would have been cool.
I think it was.
That would be cool.
I think Foxy was the only one that wasn't. Just be like Foxy.
Wasn't actual.
Yeah, Foxy, you can't actually, like, from the looks of him, can't actually be inside because of how stripped down he is.
Yeah, and I really liked that portrayal and seeing how terrified Mike was. It's like knowing that, like, yeah.
Sorry, no, I was just thinking about
seeing how terrified Mike was, seeing how like he just nonchalantly killed his daughter, quote unquote. And then
put her into a coma. Put her into a coma.
Yeah. And then the post-credit scene, like,
fucking Balloon Boy.
Yeah. Seeing Corey was great. I grew up with Corey and stuff, and that was awesome. I would have liked to see, Jacksepticeye wouldn't make sense, but with the voice at the end, people are saying I think it's Henry because in the games, as we fans know, Henry would communicate in these very cryptic phone messages, these very cryptic mini games, in ways of communication, and it could be him. It could be Mike's brother, Garrett.
Oh, you're back.
Oh, hi, Kirsten.
Hello. Hello there.
And yeah, Mike's brother Garrett was very like it was a central figure, and yeah, obviously William wouldn't be mad at a like fucking 5-year-old kid. He would be mad at the father, and I don't know, I just really like that story, and I hope that the next one could be sister location, because the way that they could do sister location, since he's not Michael's father, is it wouldn't be that horrific anymore. It would be kind of a bittersweet thing of seeing his father Henry's past work and trying to find him, and seeing this like these past designs, seeing that Henry just wanted to provide entertainment, and he was the pawn of this psychopath and this egomaniac, and it would be a very good twist of the original game. And I think instead of this just a madhouse, it would be like a house of just past things, and like Henry could show up at the end or something. Is like I think he said the whole time.
That was going to be my next question. Was where would you want to see? What would you want to see happen in
The next one
in Guardians of the
is either that, or he goes to the next location, which has Mangle and all the different places, which would just kind of be the same movie. So I wouldn't want that.
Or even like it could be like you do the time jump kind of, and do what happens in FNAF 3 of having Springtrap actually be
The central figure.
a central figure.
Yeah, because like sister location could have Marionette and all those very new faces to the lore, like, and obviously it's again very much all but like Marionette is probably Garrett's soul, the puppet, and then of course that could end with Mike being scooped and entering him, and then the whole thing of him becoming for use of a better Michael Acton for all sense of purpose. But yeah,
Shout out Ida Millard.
yeah, he actually was pretty good, other than just oh no.
One of my favorite little like acting details he does is at the end of the movie when Abby's like, "Can we both go back to visit them?" and Mike just like he just does his own like head thing. He's like, "What? You just watched Vanessa almost get murdered. You yourself almost got murdered.
He's still there."
Yeah, William is still there in that back room. You want to go back there? Like, bitch.
Which like implies that they're going to go to a new location, and I'm very excited for that. And obviously, it's made enough money to make that.
Or here's the question: do they do something from the games, or do they do a completely new story? I mean, what's the name of the knockoffs that Henry made with the frog and the
no, because that's what I'm saying of like the social location.
Yeah. He's like, what are they called?
Fredbear? No.
I like it's like the what is it? It's like the hippo and the alligator.
Yeah, I just forget the actual name.
Do something with them, but like make it an original story that ties more into Henry rather than William, and then have William come back in the third one.
Yeah, or show the post-credit scene him waking up and the whole place being like a whole time jump and him being awake now, and just the whole. I think it wasn't a VHS, but it was an animation of seeing that he says stuff like, "I hate everything. I want to kill everything."
Mediocre melodies.
Yeah, the mediocre melody, like, and then he hears something about, on the news or something about local father-son reunion or something, and then that just enrages him, and then ends.
Well, because we know that Matthew Lillard just signed on for 2 movies. We know, at least, if they make them, he's going to be in 2 more FNAF. So we know that, at least.
Yeah, because what they could do that kind of just a location positive flip on it movie of him trying to find his father.
And this is all also hinging on the idea that they bring Mike Schmidt back as the protagonist. Or if they go in it. Well, I mean, I guess they kind of have to resolve what's going on with Vanessa and see if she wakes up and stuff. So they might have to bring him back. But, like, it's all hinging on the idea that he's brought back. But if they do kind of a thing where Matthew Lillard is the only central cast figure, like, kind of have movies that are in the same series but are like kind of their own thing with only one connecting point.
Or it could have like or that next movie could be an interconnected thing of Vanessa doing the actual evil source of location and seeing what her father has done and tried to do, like in the basement, in the with the tongue like assistance.
Everything. William Afton in the basement with the animatronics. Did I win clue?
And then, of course, the other side of that with Mike trying to find his father Henry and it being this positive, like, gleeful little look at childhood. And then the third could be, I guess, much more of a time jump and like. It starts with the whole Michael trying to burn down the restaurant in FNAF 3.
Michael,
don't leave me.
Michael, you dick.
And then he fails in the third game, as we know, and then it leads into FNAF 6. And of course, 4 and like the other in-betweens wouldn't really matter in terms of a movie universe.
You can't really do the nightmare.
And then the other one is like, I forget what the other one is.
The 5th one?
Yes, His Location.
Yes, His Location.
Which is the second movie. But yeah, the opening could be like a FNAF 3 thing of showing him failing to burn down the restaurant. And then the other the whole thing like skips with a time jump. And then it shows FNAF 6 where they're all led into this maze by Henry and that whole thing, and it could be a thing there that it brings down with the speech room. So that could be a thing. Yeah. I really like how they built the set. They like made the animatronics.
Practical on
Yes. Scott was there. Like the little Ness name tag with Pat. Never ending thing with Steve Raglan's name tag. Like little things like that really make me proud to be a member of this community, and it's a really cool thing to see. And yeah, I really love the movie, and I went as a purple guy, little like 5-10 minute cosplay. And then crappy eyeshadow and everything, and then I went and.
And we ran into like everybody else on our floor at the showing after we went.
Yeah, and which was funny in itself, but it was also just cool to see other, like, even though they're our friends, like just other fans, like just here to see like the circus, and it was really cool. Yeah.
I give it 7.5.
Spring walks.
Well, sorry. The one more scene that I want to talk about before I gave my rating is the scene where Bonnie is trying to point out Mike. And there's the two theories of either Bonnie is trying to make Freddy look at where Mike is, but Freddy is too enamored and it's like, he is fucking jamming. And Bonnie's just like, dude, he is right fucking there. Or it's Bonnie trying to warn Mike. Because, like, somehow Bonnie's not in murder mode, but Freddy and Chica still are.
Bonnie's always been the kinder child.
Well, I thought Bonnie was supposed to be, like, the most aggressive one because of how Bonnie died.
No, because then Bonnie, in the games you kind of see how it's expanded in the VHS stuff and like the interviews and whatever, the animations, but it's how she sees the
Bonnie was a he.
My bad. But
yeah, misgendering the animatronics. Damn.
He sees the torture of the other children, and he sees how like their pain is like how his anger is so much more than theirs, and how he talks to Cassidy a lot about Golden Freddy, and how their anger is like the same. And there's another animation of like him saying that his anger, like, oh, like they don't understand our anger, and then Golden Freddy just yells back like, you don't understand my anger. And because Golden Freddy is the most aggressive one compared to Bonnie, because Bonnie just wants like to free
some love.
Yeah. Bonnie just wants to free his other like brothers and sisters, and then he just sees William when he sees like, but then he sees the pain of William too.
Yeah, that was a scene I just want to talk about because I found that funny. That Bonnie was just like, but yeah. So I shall give it. What am I rating this on? I'm gonna give it 7.5 best friends bitten in half out of 10.
Yeah, I would give it like fucking like 9 out of 10, just because some of the our friend Eden would be, but I think I told you, but she was saying that the CGI looked a little weird on Carl, the cupcake.
The cupcake's name is Carl?
Because it's a thing in the games, because it's supposed to like, because Carl is
Also, is the theory that the cupcake is the dog? Is that ever being confirmed, or is that just still a theory?
I think that's just a theory. I think that's just a theory.
Okay.
But yeah, because Carl's literally the name of cupcake in the game.
Okay.
So it gets.
I think it's weird nowadays that CGI is still a little janky on things. Like the Marvels, it wasn't always perfect. Beast looked good, but there were some angles where he was a little janky. But like it's just a thing of like, pay VFX workers more, pay them better, treat them better.
Hopefully,
which like that was the entire thing with Ant-Man, is that they swapped the Marvels and Ant-Man, and the VFX artists on Ant-Man had so much less time to work on it, and that's why it ended up looking kind of shitty. But like, you compare because studios have become so reliant on VFX now, instead of having it there to just enhance stuff, that like they've decided to rely on it so much and haven't been treating their artists well. Like my go-to example is Davy Jones in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. That was 2006, and the animation on Davy Jones is, in my opinion, some of, if not the best CGI animation effects that have ever been put to screen. The details on his face, and this is 17 years ago, compared to She-Hulk last year. And it's coming from someone who liked the She-Hulk show.
Yeah.
The animation was not good. So yes, pay your VFX artists more. Disney, Blumhouse, Bob, you're kind of a dick.
You're such a dick.
Yeah, you're really much of a dick, but you are in charge of putting out like two of my favorite franchises. So
please just
treat the actors better. There's now a deal in place for the next 3 years. Please treat them better. Treat the effects artists better. Support your unions. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was it for the movie.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, is there anything else you want to plug? What more D&D thing? I think that's pretty much it.
That'll come up soon. What do I want to plug? Go read Moon Knight by Jed McKay. It's really good.
Yeah, and I think that's about it. I have a lot of projects on YouTube if you want to. That's kind of why.
Go watch the impression videos.
No, don't do that. Watch my recent short films, all those.
I'm in one.
Yeah, which I submitted that one to the, I think, Film Showcase of Ontario, something.
The last appearance of my favorite hat. I'll get a new one.
Rest in peace, Detective Campus.
Yeah, I left my hat in Vancouver.
But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing for the last month and a bit. That's why I haven't been doing these. Also because our schedules haven't intertwined. But yeah, that about wraps up. This won't last long. This has been.
It lasted for 2 hours.
This has been Michael, and this has been
Logan.
and bye bye.